Chainer Dementia Master is a 5-drop 3/3 that gives all nightmares +1/+1. For 3 black mana and 3 life, you can return target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield. It is now black and has Nightmare as an additional creature type. If you take out Chainer, then he removes all nightmares from the game. When making a mono black commander deck, I knew there were some cards I would not be able to avoid. Things like Cabal Stronghold, Crypt Ghast, Cabal Coffers, and Magus of the Coffers often go in any deck that's trying to generate a lot of mana. Playing monocolor, I also felt that I had to play cards that cared about devotion. Things like Nykthos Shrine to Nyx and Nyx Lotus help me generate a lot of black mana based on the mana pips on my cards. An honorable mention in this role is also Liliana of the Dark Realms, which lets me tutor for swamps and eventually allowing them to tap for 4 black mana. Sticking with this trend, I also included a number of devotion cards that would fit my purposes. Things like Mogus Marauder, allowing my creatures to gain Intimidate, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, draining my opponents and letting me gain more life, and Apparent Overlord, a large demon that generates 1/1 blockers. Being in mono black and playing Gary himself, this deck revolves a little bit around gaining life. Some of my favorite cards to gain life in this deck are Urborg Siphon Mage, allowing you to pay 3 mana, tap, discard a card to be recurred later, and drain each player for 2 life, and you get to gain what's lost. Kakusho does the same thing but for 5 and is recurable. Disciple of Bolas lets you gain life and draw cards. Twilight Prophet lets you gain life based on the amount of permanents you have on the field. And cards like Paradise Plume, Bantu's Monument, and Whip of Erebos turn normal game actions into ways to gain life. What's a more iconic creature type than demons in mono black? Cards like Mindrack Demon will fill my graveyard and serve as a demon beater in the early game. Other demons, such as Overseer of the Damned, Pestilence Demon, or Archfiend of Depravity, all serve to dominate the board so that our opponents can't keep creatures up. As a result of all these creatures being sacrificed, put into the graveyard otherwise, there are other demons that'll serve our purposes. Cards like Apocalypse Demon, Harvester of Souls, and Bringer of the Last Gift allow us to capitalize on having a very full graveyard. Other demons, like Razaketh the Foul-Blooded and Runescar Demon, will help find our win cons late game. Finally, some cards like Demonic Council and Blood Speaker help you search for your demons and get them into your hand. Once you get them on the battlefield, cards like Liliana's Contract can help you win the game with them. Playing a graveyard-based deck, you have to have a way to get them there. So cards like Buried Alive allow you to put up to 3 cards in your graveyard. Corpse Connoisseur is recurable and allows you to put any creature in your deck into your graveyard. And lastly, Morality Shift allows you to exchange your graveyard and your library. I don't think anything beats following these guys up with a Twilight's Call. With a commander like Chainer based on recursion, cards like Ravenous Chupacabra and Noxious Gearhulk can be repeatable ways to remove problem creatures. Being in mono black does have some difficulties when it comes to non-creature permanents, but we can always rely on a trusty Steel Hellkite. And I back these up with Arch Enemy's Charm and Ob Nixilis Reignited. Now that might be how we remove creatures from the opponent's battlefield, but from our battlefield, we use High Market, Altar of Dementia, Ashnod's Altar, and Sadistic Hypnotist. All of these allow us to get our creatures off the battlefield when we want and give the benefit of either filling our graveyard or their graveyard as a result. With all these creature cards leaving the battlefield, we have to remember how to protect our own. And I run both Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves in order to do that. The other best way to defend your commander is to run cards that do a similar effect. And I use Whisper Blood Liturgist in the 99 to serve as a backup. When I build a new deck, especially in a new color, there is definitely some cards that I can't help but want to play. And in this deck, cards like Mortal Kombat, allowing me to win the game if I have 20 or more creatures in the graveyard, Temporal Extortion, which allows me to take an extra turn in mono black, or lastly, Torgar Famine Incarnate, allowing me to half someone's life total just on a whim. These are just a few of the gems from the When in Rome category. I also want to call out cards like Midnight Scavengers and Graph Rats, which transform into a way to get my creatures in late game. Other iconic mentions are Vampire Nighthawk, Dreadshade, Gaunty Lord of Luxury, and Black Market. These are cards that I've wanted to play for a long time and finally have an opportunity to. Now, other than any previously mentioned lands, I also run cards like Sequestered Stash and Buried Ruin in order to get sacrifice outlets like Ashnod's Altar or Altar of Dementia back if they get put in the graveyard. Cards like Thespian Stage allow me to double up on the Cabal Coffers effects. Cards like Drearreach Sanitarium allow me to put creature cards in the graveyard early game for soon recursion once I get Chainer up and running. And lastly, Detection Tower allows my targeted removal to still get through when people are using protection. And I finish that off with 26 swamps. Now, what would you include in your mono black EDH deck?